My name is Lyle Thompson, and you're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
On Schreiber. Sidearm whip. Scores.
Now in front. Padel scores. Hands off for Rabel. Switches hands and scores.
Kylie O'Miller showing off those shifty skills.
Right off the bat, there's Lyle Thompson.
Welcome to Pro Lacrosse Talk, the voice of Pro Lacrosse. I'm Hutton, he's Adam. Together we're bringing you interviews with your favorite players and coaches, as well as news from all 4 professional lacrosse leagues. We're here with Lyle Thompson, 2-time Tewaaraton Award winner, forward in 2017 NLL champion with the Georgia Swarm, attackman in 2019 NLL champion with the Chesapeake Bayhawks, and member of the Iroquois National lacrosse team. Lyle, welcome to the show.
Yep, thanks for having me.
So Lyle, let's go back to where it all began. You grew up on the Onondaga Nation, where lacrosse is obviously a huge part of your lives, and more than just a sport. In past interviews, you've talked about how you had a stick in your hand before you could even walk. Describe the cultural impact that lacrosse has had on you and your family.
You know, to sort of look back and reflect on all the things I've learned from the game, and it's really become a basis of who I am today. And I think a lot of players can sort of reflect back and say that, but you know, the things I've learned from the game of lacrosse, I've really instilled in literally every aspect of my life, and making the little decisions and the big decisions, and just how I want to raise my kids and how I want to impact those that I meet or those people that I'm surrounded by. And I always go to the 3 main things I've really learned from the game, and that were taught to me from my parents growing up, and sort of taught as a whole within our culture. When I guess learning about the game of lacrosse, and the number one thing I guess you would say is respect. And to me, what respect means is really just to be mindful. Be mindful of yourself, be mindful of your opponent, of the people watching, and in general, just be mindful of everyone. And in that respect aspect, I learned first from the game of lacrosse. I learned how to respect my stick. I learned how to respect, you know, my teachers and my opponents and my teammates and myself all through the game of lacrosse. But I heard that word a lot, respect, as a kid. And even right up until today, I still hear that word. So I really look back, and that's one of the key things I've learned from playing the game. The second thing would just be to play with a clear mind. You hear that a lot in I guess my interviews. They say a lot of the elders say in my community is play with a good mind and use the good mind. You know, those 2 things. You hear, I heard a lot as a kid, and to be honest, for a long time I didn't know what that meant. And what I've broken it down to today is just to be positive, be optimistic, and that plays a huge effect. To sort of go out to a game and go out in life, and to be present and to be optimistic and positive, and that energy spreads across the people you meet and the people you're around. And then the last thing, and honestly I think is probably the most important thing, is to have fun, to be passionate. And those 3 things growing up, I learned a lot from not just my parents, but my brothers and just different community members. And I think a huge part of it was that community aspect growing up in Onondaga Nation that really helped me understand the cultural aspect of the game of lacrosse.
Yeah, no, those 3 things are terrific. And I really liked how you touched on the optimism, being one of them, because I know in the MLL's feature on you and your family, you talked about how you grew up without running water and electricity until you were 11 years old. You actually look at that situation in a positive light, though, because it kept you outside for hours playing lacrosse. Tell us more about this period and how it kind of shaped your love for the game.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you know, whenever I guess share the story or reflect back on it, it's not a, like I said, it's not a bad memory. It's not a bad time in my life. I never seen it as a struggling time or anything like that. It was just a time. And looking back on it now, I've realized that, you know, it wasn't normal. It wasn't what every kid every 9-10-year-old kid had to go through. So when I look back at it, I realized that the reason it was so important for me to take that route and how it had such an impact on my life is because it got me outside. That was nothing for me inside, nothing for me and my brothers. You go inside and you go in your room, the bed was there for you to sleep in. We didn't have a TV. All of our toys were outside, and I don't think my parents drew it up that way. It was just the way it was. But the good positive thing about it was that it allowed us to spend a lot of time outside and be really active, be involved in sports, and that was sort of where I developed my love for not just lacrosse, but all the sports I got into.
That's awesome. And then kind of fast forward a little bit to your college years. You chose to join your older brother Miles and cousin Ty at University of Albany to play under Coach Marr. While there, you obviously rewrote the record books, finishing with the most career points and assists in D1 history. What really went into your decision to attend Albany, and how do you feel your game really evolved as your career progressed there?
Yeah, I decided to go to Albany, one, because it was close to home, and for me and my brother, we were making our decision together to attend a school that we could go to, and essentially we just wanted to play lacrosse. We wanted to hop on a team and be able to play as freshmen, and I don't think a lot of people view it in that way. I think a lot of kids want to go. I'm not really sure, but it might be about a championship. It might be about the university or the education. And to be honest, for me and Miles, we just want to play lacrosse. It was our passion, and Coach Marr did a really good job of sort of letting us know that his system was fit for us, and that it would be a fun system, but also we were going to play for 4 years. We were going to play 4 years of lacrosse. So I think that was a big selling point, I guess you could say, for us. But also, Miles wasn't heavily recruited, and I wasn't going anywhere without him. He wasn't going anywhere without me. So it was a group decision between me and him, and we thought that's a school that fit best for us.
No, that's great. And you talk about your making the decision with your brother Miles. In 2014, you won the Tewaaraton Trophy, and you did so with Miles, a testament to both of your seasons, considering it had never been won by two players, let alone two brothers. The next year, you won it again. What was it like winning that first one with your brother, and how special it is to win the award that has such significance not only to the game of lacrosse, but to Indigenous people as well?
Yeah, it was definitely a special feeling to win that with Miles, and sort of just the season we had. It was a special season, and as an athlete, you go into a season with obviously expectations to do well, and sometimes you shock yourself. You shock you say one thing, but I'm not sure we fully believed how talented of a group we had that year, and I think we had a really fun season. We had a really good group of guys with the class below me, which was Blaze Reardon, which was a pretty heavy class for us. That really brought our team together, and the style of lacrosse we were playing was really changing the whole college scene and the way lacrosse was being played. So our coaches allowed us to play that way as a team. It wasn't me and Miles. It was part of the system since we got there. So just that whole season was fun, and to cap it off, winning that award with Miles was something special, and it's something you don't really ever think would happen. I didn't think I thought it was going to be one or the other, You never envision two people winning an award like that. So it was a special feeling.
That's great. And kind of after your time at Albany, you were drafted by the Launch in 2015, first overall, and eventually ended up with the Bayhawks in 2017, where you've been since. How was it making that transition from the college to pro game?
I mean, the college game is so much different than the pro game, where when I stepped into the pros in Florida, my first year was a big learning experience for me, because obviously I played off of talent a lot. I wasn't hitting the gym. I didn't start hitting the gym until I was a senior at college. And looking at the college scene is it's a team defense. You got a full week to prepare for your opponent. There's a lot of scouting involved. There's a lot of film involved. And obviously in the pros, you're meeting with your team the day before a game, and then you're going out, and it's a quick scout and a quick turnaround. And I realized that in the pros, it's the other part about it is it's a one-on-one matchup for the most part. And I think it's changing now. You're seeing teams become more prepared for opponents and having, I guess, a better scout on me, especially this year, because I've seen a lot of teams, they were prepared to play against me, and they're prepared to play against our offense and our style of offense. Whereas the first year, if you're able to beat your guy one-on-one, there's a good chance you're getting to the middle of the field for a good shot. And that was my first experience, the big curve from college to pros. Whereas college, I was getting triple teamed, double teamed. Defensive teams built their scout around me, and you could see it. Whereas my first year in the pros, I wasn't used to that one-on-one matchup, and honestly, I think I wasn't prepared for it, because I was, these guys were the best of the best, and bigger, stronger, and faster. So I wasn't able to get away with those same old tricks. Not to say I had a terrible year, but it was definitely a building year for me.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see that you recognize, though, what you needed to really work on, and you definitely improved, because now you're a veteran in the league, and you're coming off a 73-point MVP season that culminating with the Chesapeake Bayhawks winning the championship, which you shared with your Bayhawk and Swarm teammate Brendan Bomberry. What was it like winning your first ever MLL title in what was a stellar MVP season?
It was fun. I mean, we have a really good, really, really fun locker room, good group of guys, and obviously that's one of the many goals a team sets out at the beginning of the year is to win a championship. So, it was a fun year, and it was exciting for me to be able to play, a full season for the first time in the MLL, and I go out there and play with the same goals every single time I step on the field, and like I said at the beginning, it's those. I always go back to those same three things when I play the game, and that's what it's about for me. So when it comes to that championship, I always try to stay focused and reach that goal of winning a championship, but at the same time, each and every game, I focus on being present and enjoying every single game, I guess the same way.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, you obviously talked about how the squad really meshed well. Kind of going forward for next season and beyond, what really excites you most about defending that title with Coach Cottle and the rest of your Bayhawks teammates next season?
Yeah, I think it's sort of just building off of this year. We got a team that's been together for a number of years now, so the chemistry's there, and I think with chemistry comes a lot more in teamwork and having fun. So all that stuff will come more naturally now, and I think it'll help us in the long run.
So Lyle, now that we're on the subject of professional championships, let's go back to the 2017 when you won your first ever professional championship with your brothers Miles and Jerome with the Swarm, defeating your brother Jeremy and the Saskatchewan Rush in 2 games. That second game, you guys were down 14-13 with a minute and a half to go. You got to look at the empty net and took a shot with seconds ticking down, and your brother Jeremy blocked the shot for the Rush before it was picked up and buried by Joel White with 3 seconds left to force overtime. Then in overtime, you found your brother Miles for the game winner. Talk us through that wild finish, and what was it like playing in a championship series with your brothers Miles and Jerome, and then against your brother Jeremy?
You know, we honestly couldn't write a better ending. It was a crazy game. Probably one of the most exciting games I've ever been a part of, and just the way it ended, the series of events that sort of came together, crazy to sort of think about, and it was crazy in the moment with Jeremy making the save and sort of us even making it, giving us ourselves a chance to go into overtime, and then the game-winning goal being a pass off of me to Miles for the game winner. It was special. It was fun, and one of my favorite lacrosse memories for sure.
No, that's great. That's, it must have been really special, and I know you guys are probably excited about, getting to that championship game again.
Yeah, for sure. This team has been together, sort of the core draft class, coming in the year before me with Miles, and then my group, having a lot of us still here, me, Randy Stott, Chad Tutton, Brian Cole, all these guys, we've been in the league for a number of years now. Our group has been together for a long time, and our chemistry is definitely built throughout those years. And I'm looking forward to the season. I think we're gonna do well.
That's great. And this past fall, speaking of playing, you participated in the World Indoor Championships as a member of the Iroquois men's national team. You suffered an injury early on that limited you a little bit, but wasn't your first time down in the jersey. What do you think about every time you represent the Iroquois and what it's like to play for that team?
Obviously, you take pride in representing, something larger than yourself, and sort of that group of people you identify with, and me being, Native American and putting that jersey on and representing Native Americans, there's some sort of, I don't really know how to describe it, a little extra meaning to it when you throw that on and you go play. So every time I play for the Iroquois, it's that way. And, obviously this year it sort of sucked. I played 2 minutes of the first game, and then probably shouldn't have played the championship game, but I went out there and limped around. But, I learned a lot from the experience of being injured, and then going into the MLL season, I was still injured, and a lot of lessons learned from sort of that whole month of September going into October.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's great that you're able to overcome that injury and and kind of play through it. That we admire that grit that you showed. But that wraps up our main questions. We're gonna take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor, and then we'll dive into our 5 and 5 segment where we'll ask you some lacrosse questions as well as some off the field questions as well. Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast. We've been using Anchor for our podcast since the very start. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, and better yet, it's free. They allow you to easily record and edit your podcast so it sounds great and send it out to all the major networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. Better yet, they connect you with advertisers so you can start making money from your podcast right away. So if you're interested in starting a podcast, download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Stitcher Premium. You can use Stitcher Premium to listen to shows ad-free such as Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, My Favorite Murder, Wolverine the Lost Trail, or our favorite, The Fantasy Footballers. For only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year, you get access to Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, and comedy albums. Better yet, if you go over to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code lacrosse today, you can get 1 month free. So head on over to Stitcher, sign up, and get your free trial today. All right, so welcome back. It's time to get to our 5 and 5 segment. So I'll ask the lacrosse questions, and my first one will be, do you have any pregame superstitions or routines?
I'll take a quote from my teammate, Zed Williams. I don't really have, strict pregame rituals, but I have my reminders, and I sort of instilled that from Zeddy. I think before I had the same attitude, but last year we had a offensive sort of game where it was like speed dating. We went across and asked a bunch of questions to each one of our offensive teammates, and someone asked Zeddy that question, Zed Williams, and that was his answer. He's sort of a quiet guy, but he's always got a really meaningful way of saying things, and that stuck out to me when he said that. So it got me thinking before my games. It's actually been the same way for me for a while. I like to listen to music. I like to tape my stick. I don't do it every game, but if it needs to be done, I usually do that. Things I need to do as far as stretching and getting in, game ready as far as mentally, listening to some music, being calm, stuff like that, enjoying the moment. And then before the game, I always give thanks for the moment I'm in and being able to play the game of lacrosse. And other than that, nothing crazy.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. My second question is more of a hypothetical one, but it's you and your 3 brothers, and you're about to play a pickup game of 2-on-2. What are the teams and who's winning?
So the teams are me and Jeremy versus Miles and Heina. It's what it's always been with every sport we've played. Tough to say who's winning because it's honestly been going back and forth since we started keeping track. Honestly, I think me and Jeremy got more wins, but since we started keeping track, Miles and Heina are a game above us.
Okay, well, we'll have to follow up with you on that and see where you guys are.
Yeah, we do a game every year.
Number 3, you and your brothers, you run Thompson Brothers Lacrosse, which manufactures some lacrosse equipment. So what is your current lacrosse stick setup in terms of shaft, head, and stringing these days? And does it vary from the box game to the field game?
I'm not picky when it comes to a shaft, but I do like the new Nike composite.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's a Vapor, but they made it new where it's like a Vapor composite. I just like the feeling of it. It's got like a little sandy feeling to it. And then a head is a Nike Lakota U. I like that just because it's I've honestly been using one since high school, and it's perfect for how I string. I sort of like a mid pocket, and I honestly never change up the way I string my Lakota U's. So I think that's why I like it. It's really easy for me to string. But honestly, I like kids that are like that, are pretty easy to string, and that's the only thing that changes from a box stick to a field stick is how much slide, how much hold it has.
Okay.
In field, I like not a lot of hold, but more hold than in box. Actually, and then in box, I like it to slide right out.
Gotcha. Yeah, you want to get that quick release, with a little bit less time in the box game. That makes sense. Yeah. Number 4 on my lacrosse list is what has been your favorite venue to play lacrosse at? And that can be more than one if you have multiple ones.
Favorite venue? That's a tough one because it sort of comes to the city too, because some cities are just fun to be in. And I like Denver. It's just a fun city to be in. There's a lot to do there, but also playing in a Pepsi Center, and it's a really big arena, but they do a really good job of filling the seats there. And I've always sort of my 4 years of playing there. I've actually never won, so I don't know why I said that. but we always play there on like New Year's, and it's usually their home opener, so it's a packed house, and it's just a really fun environment to be in. The other one is Saskatchewan. Any sold out arena is crazy to be a part of, so they're always sold out, and it's sort of that environment. It makes it feel, it brings so much more energy, and every goal, hearing how quiet the arena gets, or being on the opposing side, obviously, it's sort of a cool feeling to be a part of.
Yeah, no, kind of like silence the building. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
My final one for the lacrosse list is a little bit of a tougher one, but who is someone in the lacrosse community, whether it's a teammate, opponent, coach, or even a family member that you really admire?
I mean, off the top of my head, I got to go with Coach Marr. He's helped me in so many ways, and he's helped build. I just think he cares so much about his players, and my relationship with him, it allowed me to learn a lot from being a part of that program, and just even after college, we still stay in touch pretty often, and he's always checking in after games or before games, and he's just someone who cares about his players. So I think he's someone who's really impacted me outside of my family.
That's awesome. The man does it all too. We saw recently at one of the Albany football games, he got on the sideline and helped with the chain gang too. So it seems like he's a popular person at Albany.
Yeah.
So some non-lacrosse related questions. Number one, what are some hobbies or activities outside of the game that you enjoy doing when you're not on the field?
I love working out nowadays. Been getting into nutrition. I got into working out, like I said, my senior year, but I never really paid much attention to what I was putting in my body. So I'm sort of just into experiment. I like being my own experiment. You know what I mean? Testing out what I like, testing out what works for me. So I consider that a hobby. I spend more time than I probably should on paying attention to that nutrition and fitness, but also just there's a lot of things outside of lacrosse is just spending time with my kids, and I enjoy just drawing, painting, I guess art. That's sort of my main hobby. If I get some time, I usually just doodle around with a pen or a pencil, and yeah.
That's great. And you kind of talked about from a nutrition standpoint, that kind of leads right into my next question. Do you have a favorite meal? And if so, do you prefer to dine out, take out, or cook at home?
Yeah, I have a favorite meal. I mean, it honestly changes. I mean, too much of anything, obviously gets sickening. It's a tough when you compare it to dine in or dine out. I try not to dine out too often, but for the most part, if I'm cooking, I like to cook a salmon, oven roasted salmon. I throw all kinds of spices on it, throw some maple syrup on it, give it some sweet but spicy flavor. And then I just put together a salad, simple salad, and that's what I had for lunch today.
Sounds good.
That's perfect. And you talked in the lacrosse questions about your favorite place to play, but from a non-lacrosse side of things, any place in particular that's a favorite vacation spot for you or your family?
I can't say I vacate. I don't really vacation often, and I haven't really been outside of. If it's not lacrosse, obviously I went to Finland. Israel last year.
Yeah.
But the only place I've really been to vacation was Florida and Hawaii. So I guess a place I would like to go one day is Alaska. My wife isn't about the cold though, so
that might be a tough sell then.
She wants to go to China. She wants to see the culture there and stuff like that. So I'll probably end up going to China before I go to Alaska.
A little bit longer of a flight for sure.
Yeah.
And you talked about Coach Marr and you admire him in the lacrosse community. But from a non-lacrosse standpoint, who's your favorite non-lacrosse athlete to get a chance to see play?
I'm going to be honest. I don't really watch.
That's okay.
I don't really watch TV at all. But I'm a big basketball guy. I never paid attention to like hockey, or I've never been into watching football or anything like that. So I got to go with Kyrie Irving, and then before that, I like Kobe Bryant.
There we go. Two good answers.
Kyrie's a favorite amongst lacrosse guys. I feel like we had, I believe Jules Henningberg was one who was a big fan of Kyrie, and then somebody else mentioned, I'm going to draw a blank on who it was, but Kyrie being another athlete that they like to watch.
And then my last one, any books or podcasts or anything like that you're listening to or reading that you might recommend to a friend or teammate?
No, yeah, I listen to, every time I work out, I usually listen to podcasts. As far as podcasts, my favorite podcast, I'm more of a serious type of, I guess, personality. I listen to Aubrey Marcus. He does a lot of he's got a lot of spiritual gas.
He's awesome. I listen to him too.
He also throws in honestly everything, athletics, diet, everything. So he's probably my favorite podcast to listen to. Right now, I'm reading A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. It's a spiritual book. It's pretty eye-opening, but it's not for everybody for sure. But me and my wife read it, and I'm reading over it again.
Yeah, that one's great. And The Power of Now, I don't know if you ever had a chance to read that one too, but that's another great Eckhart book.
Yeah, I looked at The Power of Now. It's a little bit more wordy.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna finish this one, and maybe one day I'll read that one too. But there's a ton of crazy, just way to operate, and it really opens up your mind and how to look at life, I guess, every day.
Yeah,
life.
absolutely.
So, I've learned a lot from it so far.
That's great.
And that's awesome. And that wraps up our 5 and 5 segment, but we like to end with one final question that we ask all our guests, and that is, what is some advice that you'd have for a young player looking to one day play lacrosse professionally?
I mean, it's sort of always the same thing. I don't really think it's important to get all fancy with things, and obviously nowadays you're seeing a lot of these kids are seeing athletes, complicate your skills. I mean, you gotta train this way, or you gotta do this, and to be honest, I think it's just about making sure you're having fun. Like I said at the beginning, that's why I said that one being the most important, because with fun comes passion, and with passion, everything else blossoms from it. Because you're able to do things, you're able to be, focused and have fun and train and not even know you're doing it, because you're just enjoying yourself so much. And it also becomes like a medicine. It becomes a meditation to be outside and to grab your stick and to shoot on a net. And however you want to shoot. Maybe you're not shooting on net. Maybe you're playing wall ball. Maybe that's what's fun for you. But for me, I've tested out different things. Sometimes I like practicing some crazy thing where I gotta shoot over, a pylon or something that forces me to shoot overhand, or forces me to throw a twister, forces me to shoot off my back foot. Yes, sometimes that's fun. But as long as I'm not gonna do it if I'm not enjoying it. So I think when it comes to the youth and when you're at a certain age, it's just about having fun, grabbing your stick. And if you have your stick in your hand, skills are going to build from it. I don't care what you're doing. If you're just fiddling around with your stick, if you're taking reps, hitting bottles in the corner, if you're aiming for a hole on a board, if you're aiming for a brick on a wall, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. As long as you're having fun with it, skills going to build from that tool, that stick being in your hand. And don't overthink it. You know what I mean? Take these different, drills you're seeing on Instagram from different athletes and different lacrosse players. Yeah, take them, utilize them, but don't feel the need to have to do it, which I feel like is sort of becoming a thing.
No, that's
but
great.
Yeah, that's my main thing, is just to continue to have fun with it. If you lose the passion, a lot more can come with that.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I mean, it's really indicative too, I think, of your playing style. You play a free-flowing style of lacrosse, and I feel like that's probably because of the way you train and you enjoy it and you try things out, and that's good for young listeners to hear that there's not one size fits all for everybody, and as long as you're enjoying the game and, like you said, have the stick in your hand, you can develop your own style. So I think that's some great advice. Well, Lyle, this has been terrific. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, my Instagram and my Twitter is Lyle 4 Thompson. And I'm not too active on Twitter, but I'm more of an Instagram guy. But those are my handles.
All right, awesome. Oh, thank you. But Lyle, we really appreciate you joining us. Thank you again. Congrats on your MVP and championship winning season with the Bayhawks, and best of luck this season with the Swarm.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, and have a good one.
Today's show is being brought to you in part by Stitcher Premium. You can use Stitcher Premium to listen to shows ad-free such as Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, My Favorite Murder, Wolverine the Lost Trail, or our favorite, The Fantasy Footballers. For only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year, you get access to Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, and comedy albums. Better yet, if you go over to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code lacrosse today, you can get 1 month free. So head on over to Stitcher, sign up, and get your free trial today.